On Story Court, the story is on trial, and on today's episode, we're going to break down Monica Tigleanu's March 2023 cyber presentation at the S4 conference at the Loews Hotel in South Beach, Miami. Ms. Tigleanu is a senior cyber underwriter at Munich Re, but she was formerly at Marsh London's cyber practice between 2018 and 2021. According to S4, S4 is the world's largest and most advanced event on the topic of cybersecurity. Ms. Tigleanu's topic is called Understanding the Cyber Insurance Business, and she goes for about 35 minutes. Interesting topic because, not being familiar with S4, I would have thought these are cyber experts. Either way, this is not a sales pitch or an overtly persuasive push. This is informative. This means lots of explaining, and that means the audience can fall asleep. So let's see how she does.
Have you ever wondered why you know so little about the insurance industry? What happens when you transfer a risk to an insurance company? How do insurance companies manage all those risks that they accumulate? And what in the world is cyber insurance, and why should you be more involved in sourcing or placing it? Now, these are hard questions, but we have to start somewhere.
That was 40 seconds. That's a really great beginning. Firing off existential question after question. Asking questions set up a great narrative thread because the natural supposition is that you will answer them, but you have to be smart about when you answer them. She could have answered the questions right away, but that would have deflated any tension in her presentation, and the audience would have no reason to listen. Turns out these questions are part of a bigger picture, which she describes here.
Data and technology has underpinned our society's wealth and aspirations. Technology has improved our way of life, our businesses, and it has given us hope that we can solve the world's biggest challenges. But securing this technology is in itself a problem. And that's for two reasons. On one hand, everything is more or less connected. And on the other hand, human error is omnipresent in cyber risk. So these two reasons make it very hard to predict cyber risk. So what can we do about it? How do we solve this? Well, we could lean into our human superpower, our communication skills. We need to be able to engage and share knowledge, opinions, efforts, so that we can better understand and be better prepared for cyber risk management. It's what I would like to call our collective intelligence. So today, we are going to build up our collective intelligence around the topic of cyber insurance.
That last statement, that's an important transition.
We are going to build up our collective intelligence around the topic of cyber insurance.
That's why we're all gathered here today, and that's what she's going to speak about. This was the last sentence of her introduction, according to the Greek method as described in Chapter 6 of Harvard Business Essentials, Business Communication. Right now, I'm seeing an introduction concluding with a sort of thesis statement. Famed speechwriter Peggy Noonan advised in her book On Speaking Well to announce your subject and point of view at the beginning of the speech, repeat it in the middle, and tie it up again at the end. Ms. Tigleanu used the rhetorical devices in Chapter 6, namely rhetorical questions, to warm the audience up or otherwise prepare them to hear her favorably. This entire sequence took 2 minutes.
So not too long ago, I was at a dinner party on a Friday night, great times, surrounded by new friends and friends that I've known for a few decades.
And now we have a story. This is the narrative section of the Greek method. This presentation is all coming together quite classically.
Just before dessert, I heard my name and a loud gasp across the dinner table. Something you probably don't want to hear. Monica works in cyber insurance. Now I really wish I had the epiphany to say, no, really, I don't work in insurance. I'm a piano player at a jazz bar. Or a professional dessert taster, because I love dessert. But alas, I had to respond and say, I am an underwriter, a taker of risk. I've spent the last 12 years working alongside different professionals in the insurance industry. I've seen how insurance companies evaluate and assume risk. I've seen how brokers influence the cyber insurance marketplace. And I've also seen how many organizations still struggle with understanding cyber risk management. So today, It's my pleasure to be your Sherpa of insurance and take you or guide you on a journey about what is insurance.
You probably noticed I ticked off the 3 C's as she delivered them. She was the character. The change she underwent was being identified at a party, as if somebody noticed the big S under Clark Kent's shirt. Clarity is the hardest one to identify. It's the point of the story, the so what. She transitioned from the dinner party to a brief background of her credentials and experience, and that yes, I am your Sherpa of insurance and I am pleased to take you on a journey. Great job. Everything comes together. Sherpa of insurance is a great line and just waiting to be used as a theme or meme. At this stage, if we're going full Greek method, we should be able to identify the theme of the presentation. The title was Understanding the Cyber Insurance Business. We've already heard Collective Understanding, that was a good line. And now we have Sherpa of Insurance. Those lines are just waiting to be repeated in order to really drill down into the brains and memories of the audience. We'll see what she does with that. The 3 C's can go in any order, and I'm reluctant to prescribe anything that suggests an order because each story can be different. But when the clarity is delivered as the final C, the transition to the argument section or the body section in the cold open is just so smooth, as we saw here.
So today, it's my pleasure to be your Sherpa of insurance and take you or guide you on a journey about what is insurance.
Because she gets into the nitty-gritty from here. I'm not going to play in real time the argument section. I'll leave a link to the presentation in the description below, and I encourage you to watch it. In short, she delivered. She did a great job of using rhetorical questions. Again, a classic technique that is extremely effective. There are other rhetorical devices one could use, triads, parallel structure, to name 2. Remember, this is the most important section of the presentation. This is where you will spend the most time. So the trick is to keep that ball of entertainment in the air. If you don't, the audience will settle into their seats and fall asleep. Her slides are A+ awesome. Look at these. Hilarious. Where's the data dump? Where are the bar charts? This is just chef's kiss and honk of the horn. And I found myself waiting to see the next slide. And I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, that I was looking forward to the next slide of the cyber insurance overview. As far as constructive criticism, I'm on the fence about the conclusion. I've had the benefit of watching this a number of times, but I'm trying to keep an eye on what the audience might have experienced in the moment. At first, I thought the whole thing wrapped up too quickly, that it just sort of ends. And then I thought the conclusion went in another direction, that so much time had been spent on the overview that in reality this was a call to action. If the call to action had been teased more or drawn out, I might have been anticipating the climax where we, the audience, would be implicated. I think in the end I land somewhere in the middle, particularly because of her final line. Here, watch.
So why shouldn't we keep engaged and keep discussing these important topics? Well, I'm hoping that today will serve as that impetus to build our collective intelligence around cyber insurance. Thank you very much for your time.
I call that backloading the sentence, where you put the most important element of the sentence at the end. This is Rule 22 in Strunk and White's Element of Style. Place the emphatic words of a sentence at the end. Done this way, the sentence builds naturally to a climax. Had she recast the sentence to read something like this, building our collective intelligence is a realistic goal that I hope today's presentation illustrates. The result would have been flat. But the issue I have in this example is that it's been a half hour since the last time she used this line, collective intelligence. The echo is gone, so I don't know that it landed as powerfully as it could have, and she didn't repeat Sherpa of Insurance or the journey through the cyber landscape, so it appears that all the great storytelling and wonderful turns of phrase end up as loose ends. Not the end of the world, but a next natural step for a presenter as talented as Miss Tigleanu would be to tie up one or all of those threads at the end. As an example, she could return to the dinner party. That was great scene work, so she could close by putting us back in that scene. But maybe that material wouldn't work for her. Since this is a cyber overview, one might consider building the presentation around the 3 most important points the audience should understand about cyber insurance.
Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories.
She hints at this with this slide, but it's kind of left in the dust. So an example would be, when building a baseline understanding of cyber insurance, you need to be familiar with 3 points. First, this. Second, that. Third, and another thing. And of course, since she went with a call to action, one option might be to introduce that call to action earlier. That not enough people know what cyber insurance is, that we need to get together, combine resources, our collective intelligence, and keep the conversation going. As far as the structure of the Greek method, one could argue the refutation section was omitted, but one could also argue, and this is where I land, her wonderful use of rhetorical questions peppered throughout could be perceived as refutation. On story court, the verdict is in, and I find the defendant not guilty of fomenting boredom. I encourage others to take notes because this is a great example of storytelling in a presentation. Thank you for watching this episode, And stay tuned for more Story Court, where the story is always on trial.